Welcome to the cityCURRENT Show, powered by Higginbotham Insurance and Financial Services.
This show focuses on sharing good news and powering the good in our community. Now here's your host, cityCURRENT CEO, Jeremy Park.
Welcome to the cityCURRENT Show, powered by Higginbotham Insurance. I'm your host, Jeremy Park. We're always honored to bring you inspiring stories of individuals and organizations making a difference and powering the good. And in this case, we're talking all about Higginbotham Insurance. We're here with managing partner Jay Harvill. How are you doing, buddy?
Fantastic, Jeremy. It's good to be with you today. Thanks for making the time.
Absolutely. So we were just with you in Nashville celebrating the ribbon cutting grand opening for the office in Nashville. When you look at Higginbotham, though, across the nation, let's start with a little bit of context. Give us some background on Higginbotham Insurance.
You know, Higginbotham's a phenomenal success story of an employee-owned organization that has really grown stratospherically, if that's a word, in the last 5-10 years. Our CEO, Rusty Reed, has done a phenomenal job of setting a culture where we can really grow by acquisition and also organically. So we've seen our footprint expand to over 90 offices across the U.S., doing property and casualty, large group benefits, personal lines, life insurance, really anything insurance. And it's exciting to be a part of the company as we're moving right now.
Give us a little bit of your world, because on your end, you've got the Memphis roots, you've got the Nashville roots now. So give us a little bit of your vantage point for your world.
Yeah, what's neat about what's happening, everybody knows Nashville is one of the growth cities in the country. And because of that, Higginbotham and me and several of our other producers saw the opportunity to really try to get involved into something where we see the trajectory of the city moving forward. So Higginbotham is going to have a major presence here in Middle Tennessee as it grows, which is really exciting for me. I grew up in Middle Tennessee. It feels like coming back home. And so many people are moving here from other places and other states that are looking for good connection and looking for opportunities to be with quality organizations. And that's what we feel like we have to offer with Higginbotham here. So I think the light is completely green for the growth of this office over the next 15 or 20 years.
Absolutely. While I've got you, I talk about cityCURRENT all the time. You had a chance to talk about cityCURRENT at the Signature Speaker Series event and at the ribbon cutting, but give us a little bit of the tie-in for cityCURRENT and Higginbotham Insurance. Talk about the synergy between the two.
Yeah, it's fantastic here in Nashville. We started cityCURRENT up here about 6 years ago. And so we've got phenomenal partners here. And you and I were talking about it earlier, the energy that is centered around these partners and in this community to try to drive and make a difference is exceptional. So Higginbotham and cityCURRENT, we're sharing an office here. There is extraordinary collaboration going on. We have a lot of cityCURRENT meetings in our office, which means we get to see our partners even more regularly, keeping Higginbotham top of mind with them as well. So it's truly one of those moments where you see everything working like it should between the organizations. It's really neat.
cityCURRENT is part of the Higginbotham family, so it's quite an honor for sure. So let's dive into your world with insurance. When you talk about what's going on right now, some of the major trends, go ahead and start diving into what keeps you up at night. What are your clients most worried about? What are you seeing right now as the major trends?
Cost. That's really what it boils down to right now. It's for years, you know, the insurance market on the property and casualty side kind of ebbs and flows and peaks and valleys. We're used to that, a hard market, a soft market for rates, et cetera. We're definitely in a very hard market, which means costs are rising and rising high and quickly for our customers, our clients, our partners that we're trying to take care of. So that's what's driving most of the conversations we're having on the property and casualty side is why is this happening? What is going on and what's coming down the road? Because businesses are getting squeezed from every side with inflationary pressure. So once insurance jumps in there, it makes it pretty tough.
Carry that deeper, because when you look at the cost to rebuild, you look at, the home prices now with the cost of lumber and appliances and everything. And then you look at how that carries over obviously into P&C and large businesses to rebuild, and the proliferation of tornadoes, hurricanes, disasters, fires, floods. It just feels like, on the news, there's a lot going on every single day, much more damaging. So dive in deeper into why those costs are rising.
Yeah, you bring up a really good point, Jeremy. So you're really seeing two things on the property side that are driving property rates, losses, which have occurred. Years ago, most of the insurance carriers went to a modeling where they're going to use models based on historical data to predict what property losses are going to be. The models haven't worked. We're seeing hailstorms in San Antonio, Texas, which San Antonio didn't traditionally get hailstorms. These deep freezes that have gone with these polar vortexes deep into the south, the proliferation of wildfires, the flooding that has come recently. Like, we all have seen the increase in those environmental situations. And so the rate's not been adequate to compensate for that. And then aside from that, when we do have those losses, right, to your point, the 2x4 costs more now than it did 3 years ago. So if I've got to rebuild that building, everything, all of the labor costs, the hard costs are all more expensive than they were 3 years ago. Because insurance is regulated by state, insurance companies can't just snap their fingers and increase rates. They have to file the rates. And so it takes a process for them to get through it. And they're trying to stair step these things up, but they're pretty big stair steps right now, to be honest, and put a lot of pressure on business owners.
Share a little bit of those nuances when you look at the variation between state to state, but then also on your end with companies that operate in many different states,
right?
Navigating that and also factoring in things like liability and litigation.
Yeah, most people don't realize that there is no federal regulation of the insurance industry. It is completely regulated at a state level, which means if you're a large insurance company and you want to write in all 50 states, then you have to deal with every single state separately, from what your form says to what your rates are to. So there's strategies developed around dealing with each of those states. And then when you see liability and litigation rising, certain states and certain jurisdictions being less favorable for business. The buzzword in our industry now are nuclear verdicts, and we've moved into thermonuclear verdicts, which are verdicts over $100 million. So the courts are increasing these large liability claims, and that's affecting the industry, which drives up the prices for all of us. And because it's regulated by state, once again, these carriers have to try to pick which states do they want to grow in and which do they want to kind of shrink in because of the exposure that they have to their book of business. The piece of that too that's really impacting us is the rise in private funding of litigation. It's very profitable for private equity groups or other organizations to spend $20 million to get a $400 million verdict, of which the attorneys and the private equity get to split half. So 20 million to get potentially 100 million seems like a pretty good deal. And that's the type of thing that's happening as well that's driving up these costs for the insurance carriers.
So how are you working with clients to help mitigate that, to help successfully navigate through? Give us a little bit of behind the scenes, some of the things you're doing on your end with Higginbotham Insurance.
Higginbotham is great from the standpoint is we have lots of different ways to try to do that. Our day two services, for example, really leaning in with our clients and saying, hey, day one is placing the insurance, but day two, how do we help you not use that insurance? What can we do to make this a safer workplace, a better workplace, to make your employees more engaged and happier? Those feed into lowering your insurance costs over time. The second thing I really see with Higginbotham is we're exploring a lot of alternative risk transfer mechanisms. We're seeing a rise of captives where maybe you dovetail a captive approach in with still buying some insurance coverage, or maybe not. Maybe we move you into a group captive environment where you're getting to retain a lot of those dollars that you're making as a profitable investment as opposed to giving them to an insurance carrier. So there's lots of strategies because of our size and scope and depth of knowledge that we have that we can help bring to the table for our clients.
For those who aren't familiar with the term captive, give us a little bit of a definition around captive.
Yeah, there's varying levels of insuring your business and taking on self-insurance. You can have a small deductible where you're taking the first $2,500 of that claim. You can maybe even have a large deductible where you're taking the first $250,000 of that claim. And you're just kind of moving up the ladder of self-insurance. Kind of the pinnacle of that is joining a captive or setting up a captive whereby you become your own insurance company and you are participating in the profit or loss of that organization. It's gotten a lot more popular with the cost of insurance as it rises, and it gives you more control. And if you're a large organization that has a high amount of liability exposure, Jeremy, it's something you really should be looking at as an organization. And we've gotten deeply involved in that. We have the expertise to try to help analyze whether it makes sense for you or not to maybe pull into some of those. But like I said, there's stair steps to getting there. It doesn't have to be quitting buying insurance cold turkey and just moving straight forward. We can kind of help you navigate over several years to get into those kind of positions.
Touch on what you're seeing with cyber liability. Obviously, you've got the cyber attacks that have become, seems like every year more and more, but touch on cyber liability and why that's so important.
Cyber has become, in my opinion, the single biggest risk facing the business environment in the country, really for any of us as individuals, because now that we all walk around with computers, right? This is a liability as well as an asset. And so the opportunity to break in and make a difference and in shifting somebody's profile online or to shift a business's profile online it's baffling. I get lost thinking about it sometimes. So the response has been the rise of cyber coverages, which really cover two things. One, it protects you as the business. What happens if somebody hacks into my system and locks it down? It doesn't really affect anybody else but me, but I can't conduct business. So we wanted cyber programs designed to help protect you as an organization and then to protect your liability. Somebody hacks into your system, steals the data on your customers, your clients, your employees, and exposes it. Well, I have a liability as a business to those employees to try to protect them, and there's a cost associated with that. So the cyber programs have responded to kind of dovetail together to protect both of those.
Touch on too, working with nonprofits. You do a lot on D&O and things specifically, obviously, to help protect nonprofits and board members. So touch on a couple of tips and recommendations for nonprofits.
Yeah, the nonprofit space has changed dramatically. It used to be that nonprofits were able to be founded by people who really cared about what they could do, and they'd find people to help them with business. And now the role of that executive director is so much tougher, because they've really got to be involved in every aspect of what's going on with the rise of litigation and so forth. So the pieces that really matter there, you've got to get a good board. You really do. You need a board that is engaged and involved and not just putting it on their resume. They need to understand the mission, the purpose of the organization. They need to set tone, pace, and direction as well from a standpoint of oversight. And then stepping in from, as you said, the risk management insurance side, putting the pieces together for that organization. Unfortunately, everybody knows somebody in the insurance industry, and most nonprofits don't get the kind of advice they need because they just deal with whoever they know that may or may not understand the risks that nonprofits face, especially if they're in the human services world where they're dealing with people. That part has gotten much more litigious over the last several years.
So when you look at then things like D&O, describe what D&O insurance is and why that applies.
Yeah, directors and officers coverage is designed to protect decision-making for an organization. It's helpful for a for-profit in many ways, but for a not-for-profit, it's crucial. Because if you're sitting on a board, you're acting as a fiduciary of the assets of that not-for-profit, right? People are giving you gifts and donations that you've got to be a good steward of. So the allegation of malfeasance as it relates to that, or the allegation of malfeasance as it relates to who the board chooses to hire or not hire. Those types of decisions protect the personal assets of your board members. So from a nonprofit standpoint, it's a critical component of their insurance program to make sure that it's protecting the people who are volunteering their time to be a part of that organization.
Yeah, I think all these are really important conversations because knowledge is power. And the more you know, the more you can control the opportunities to have success with your for-profit or nonprofit or your family as well. So carry that into how can we learn more, reach out, connect with Higginbotham Insurance and with you.
You know, Higginbotham Insurance is pretty easy to find when you Google it. Like I said, our team's done a great job of getting our name out there. So you can find us on the web. Obviously, we're based right here, just south of Nashville in Franklin, Tennessee. If anybody's in Middle Tennessee and would love to connect with us, or any one of our more than 90 offices across the country, we've got great reach. Jay Harvill, you can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on the Higginbotham website. Just let me know if you need my help.
Higginbotham.net, Higginbotham.com, all easy ways to connect and learn more. So lots of easy places to get involved with Higginbotham and obviously with Jay Harvill, Managing Director with Higginbotham Insurance. Thank you, buddy, for all you do. And thank you for coming on the show.
Jeremy, I appreciate it as always. Thanks for all you do to help power the good.
Higginbotham Insurance and Financial Services is proud to power the cityCURRENT Show. We're a people-first company that protects what matters most, the families, businesses, and trailblazers that keep our community going. As one of the nation's top independent insurance firms, Higginbotham is a single-source solution for business insurance, employee benefits, HR services, and personal insurance that's customized for you. We're here to serve you, the people you care about, and your community. Call 866-377-1959 or visit higginbotham.com.